Karen,
Yes.
I'm getting so many psychic messages these days.
Really?
Really, so many. In fact, I feel a message coming through for you right now.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that you're the type of person that places great value on being liked and admired. And at times, you can be prone to doubting whether or not you've made the right choices in your life. You can be excessively critical of yourself. You've got a lot of potential that's not been used to your advantage yet. You're an independent thinker to a certain degree. You need some change in your life. Too many restrictions make you uncomfortable. That said, finding security is one of your main goals. How'd I do?
Well, you did pretty darn good.
Remarkable, right? Only one problem.
It wasn't you.
All of those, for the most part, could apply to almost anyone.
That's very true.
You could probably use the same script on anyone you meet.
That's very true.
Sadly, sometimes these are the only types of messages that people get when they solicit psychic advice.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, today we get to speak with someone that prides herself in being very specific, giving precise details that blow people away.
Wow.
Every session is unique to the person she's reading, and she not only taps into your unique soul message, but also to that of your pet, whether they're alive or not. An exciting new episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians starts now.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
we both want to believe.
So we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something.
Anything.
That will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Welcome to the Skeptic Metaphysicians. I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
And today we've got the privilege of speaking with an intuitive healer and medium who connects with all life and souls, including animals at their soul level. She calls what she does soul speak, and clients from around the world have benefit from the work that she does. She brings information that no one else could possibly know about you and your pet. And we are excited to welcome Susan Allen to the show. Susan, thank you so much for coming on the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's our pleasure completely. Now, we have had many psychics, we've had many mediums, we've had a couple of animal communicators on the show as well. But what makes you uniquely different is that everyone I've talked to has said astounding things about how precise your readings are.
Really?
What do you attribute your preciseness to?
Truthfully, I think it's about love. I think it's about loving this so much and finding my path, that when I connect through love, because I love my clients, I love the work, I'm so grateful. It's like the floodgates open. It's like the highest vibration. I think that's partially it.
You're an animal communicator. How did that start? Were you just sitting with your pet and I don't even know how to ask that question. How did you know you were actually communicating with an animal?
Well, what I did was I always had this amazing connection with animals from the time I'm really little. I was going through a time in my life where I needed a bunch of bone surgeries, and I had this cute little French bulldog, and I just thought, oh, let me take some mindless, silly class online. But I had already been clairvoyant, but I wasn't connected to that, if that makes sense. So I just took this silly class called animal communication because I was so in love with this little French bulldog, but it took me 11 years to get. And I wasn't sure I really should buy a dog, and I wasn't sure if I should have a dog. Well, the connection with her was so huge. I attribute her to reminding me who I really was, because I had a million careers and I didn't know what I was supposed to do or what I wanted to do. And right before this animal communication class, I was going up to a barn in Malibu. I couldn't ride horses because I needed these surgeries, but I would just love on this horse named Leo. And I would work on him every week. And this one time I remember specifically, I said to him, buddy, I'm not going to see you for 6 weeks. So if you're going to make me massage you and groom you for an hour and then finally let me kiss your face, I can't stand any longer, because it was like the pain was really getting there on my leg. So within seconds, animals are so amazing. Within seconds, his ears come forward, his whole head comes down to my level. He's this ginormous horse and his eyes closed. And it was like, boom, boom, boom. And I went, oh my God, we're really talking to each other. This is real. So fast forward, I have the surgery. I'm on my couch. I'm on my iPad. This is like 20 years ago. And the silly little class called Animal Communication Level 1 comes on my iPad. And I thought, oh, I need something mindless and something silly and joyful and full of love to do rather than worrying about my real job, which was joyless. And I take this silly class. And man, oh man, it was like, I didn't even know I was a writer. This picture comes up of this horse. We're 10 people in the class. And the teacher said, just let your weirdo fly and journal what you get. And I'll go around the room and we'll say what you got right. Okay. I start journaling. And when I looked at my writing, it was like a Disney movie. And to this day, I still have like 5 or 6 composition notebooks filled with animal readings because I would meditate, look at the photo of the pet, journal 3 to 5 pages, and then get on the phone with the client for another hour. This was at the very beginning of this work. So I take this class and I'm writing like a Disney novel about this horse. A couple of things that I remember was I had a nose issue. He switches it in the same sentence to nostril issue, and I almost died. And the ravens sit on my water bucket. And I love when they tell me where they've been. And I'm reading this as teacher, and I'm like, I'm not a creative writer. This doesn't make any sense. And then the teacher goes around the room after everybody gives their writing. And some people said, I'm sorry, I'm not getting anything. So she came to me and she said, yeah, he had a nostril problem. Apparently when he dipped his face in his water bucket, there was a wire in his water bucket. And when he pulled his head back, one of his nostrils was ripped open and he was laying in blood. I know this is so graphic. I'm sorry. And he needed a blood transfusion. So it was like, how would I know that? And then before long, everybody in the class was calling me for readings, including a veterinarian who's still a client. So that's really like that. And I went to my husband, I think I really love this. And he goes, Susan, do not tell anybody you're talking to animals. You have a career. You can't leave your career. Like, you don't leave your day job to pursue something that nobody needs, nobody believes in. But I was doing it under my maiden name so nobody could find out in my real business. So I had this little cute website and people were booking animal readings. And that's kind of the long story to the basic question.
So that little silly class was not quite so silly because it kind of opened up a whole world for you at that point. So you think everybody can speak to animals? Everybody?
I think everybody has an ability that they either won't allow themselves to develop or won't relax enough into it to let go, to hear that small, sweet, intuitive voice within. And not everybody's like that. There are people that want to live in the fantasy of and being in the ethereal. And then there are people that are just like, no, I can't do it. And I think it's fear of taking a leap of faith and just saying what you get.
Or being seen as foolish or naive or crazy.
My question about that is, how do you know you're getting something and you're not just making stuff up?
Oh, believe me, I was like the doubting Thomas of myself. What do they call it? Imposter syndrome. I was always so hard on myself in the beginning. We lived in a house where my husband's office was in the garage. And before every reading, which I was barely getting paid, right? And I was using my maiden name, I'd run in the garage and I'd say, oh my God, I have an animal reading. Oh my God. And he'd go, you're going to have a blast, turn around and just go back in the house and then come out and tell me how great it was. And I'm telling you, every time, it would either make me cry or I would go, how is this possible? How is this possible? I read my testimonials and I look at my reviews and I go, oh my God, that's how I know I'm getting it right because people are telling me I'm getting it right.
But does it sound like a different voice in your head or does it just sound like your own thoughts? I'm asking you this.
No, I love that.
I'm wondering about myself.
I think if it sounded like a different voice, it would scare the bejesus out of me. No, it's my voice. And sometimes it doesn't turn off. I have to meditate to go, okay, I'm grounding. Don't turn that off.
Then do you ascribe to the thought that different people have different talents? Because it sounds like, I mean, you have pretty much said everyone can speak with animals, but you also soul speak with humans. It's not just an animal communication thing with you. You actually have these really incredibly specific readings with human through their soul contact as well.
Yeah.
So is that the same skill set or is that a different skill set? Because people say that you've got a talent or two or five, but that seems like it'd be different.
Let's put it this way. When I was doing an animal reading, I didn't want to talk to dead people. I didn't want dead people in my house.
Yeah, they make a
just
mess all over the living room,
Yeah.
right? The pieces falling off and forget it.
I was like, no, I can't watch
Yeah.
horror movies. And I was sitting in my chair that used to be in that corner where I did all my readings. And I'm doing this reading with a cat, with a client, and the picture of my dad and I across the room, who was deceased at the time. It was just my dad and I, and he had his arm around me. His face started to change, and it was so subtle and calming.
And that didn't freak you out?
No, believe it or not, it was gentle. So I felt like spirit knew how to communicate with this girl. Like, I don't want to see dead people walking through my house. I really, not my jam. So I said to spirit, in one of my meditations, if this is how you're going to do things with me, I can do this. It was kind of like a thing that I had with the spirit world. And that's how it's been. It's been gentle and loving and wonderful and calming. It actually, when I'm doing my thing, I'm probably in my best place possible. It's like an athlete or a talk show host. Like, when you're doing your thing.
You're in the zone.
You're
right?
in the zone. It's the most calming for me to clear myself and just bring in messages from spirit. It's the most calming.
I could see how that would be the case. For the record, Karen, if your face starts to change, I'm running out the door. Because
don't doubt it.
It's not a person. That would freak me out.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for clarifying.
Photo.
All right. So then is it possible then for you to tell spirit, hey, this is the way I want to be communicated with? Or because you hear people, some people are claircognizant, some people are clairaudient, some people are clairvoyant. Can you make the determination, spirit, I want to be this? Because it sounds like that's kind of what you did.
No, not really. I wanted them to communicate with me subtly like they did in the photo.
Gotcha.
But I let them do their thing to give me the message that could best reach the client, other than like my head's not going to spin around, or they're not going to take me over. I kind of let spirit lead because it's like, I tell my clients, they pay me, but I work for spirit. They kind of control the people that come to me. They control my income. Like, they're really in charge. It's not other than me just showing up. They're kind of in charge as to what's coming in, the messages.
They're your agent.
They're my agent. Yeah.
I like that.
So what would then be the least subtle way they've communicated with you?
I get physical feelings that aren't always pleasant.
Oh.
Like my throat will close up, or I'll get a massive chest pain, or I'll get a hearing pain in my head. So that's like, I'll say to the lady, I have this really bad headache, and would somebody have passed from a head injury or a stroke or brain hemorrhage? And, it's always like spirit doesn't lie. It ends up being what they actually passed as. Well, I won't be able to breathe, and I'll know it was like my lungs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then does it end once the reading's over?
Once I say what it was, it's like they're using me to communicate.
Okay.
So the person knows that it's evidential, that it's real. So they will use me, my body, to help me communicate what they died of. And then once I say it, they release it.
Well, yeah, I think the picture would be nicer.
Exactly. But it's easy, it's gone once I say it. But sometimes, like before a reading, I have all these feelings, right? And the reading hasn't even started yet. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? And I always forget. It's really like, this is like a piece of like the personal life of the medium that I'm giving you guys that I don't think I've ever talked about. Like the morning of the reading, I'm either, I don't say anything, but I'm like having all these feelings. And then all of a sudden I sit down and I do my meditation right before the reading. And I'm like, damn it, again, this has nothing to do with me. This is the person I'm speaking with next.
Oh, wow. So
That
they come through
part,
you first.
that part I do not like. That part I do not like because I'm taking on the person's feelings that aren't even my own, but I'm about to get
Mm.
on Zoom with them. That part is not so fun. But
All right.
again, once I start the reading, I'm like, oh God, I did it again. Why didn't I guess that?
So you just got to tell the green room to settle down. Settle down. Wait till I get to you.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we're just getting started with Susan Allen. We got to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the fact, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, that the connection is all about love. And I really want to go deeper into that because that sounds really interesting. I know Karen especially is very interested in this. So don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're going to talk about the connecting with love. And we're back on the Skeptic Metaphysicians. We're talking to Susan Allen. She's a psychic medium who's also able to communicate soul speak with animals as well as humans. And she's been giving us a little insight into what it's like to have people in the green room bashing down her door and making her feel really uncomfortable before readings. But let's shift gears a little bit and let's go back to that connection that you have with animals and humans, that connection that comes from love. When you say that, what exactly does that mean? How can someone tap into love to communicate with their animals or their dearly departed?
Great question. Thank you. The best thing with the animals, like most people come from a state of love with their animals. So what I say is to clear yourself as best you can so you can communicate to your pet or get those intuitive hits by being self-loving first, doing the prayer and meditation and your own grounding and your own self-care, and then telepathically communicating to a pet. Like I would do it with a photo. I'd take a photo from a client. I still love photos. I don't need them, but I still love to look at an animal.
Mm.
And I could look in the eyes and I just start with, I love you. You're beautiful. I'm so excited to be here. Would you consider speaking with me? Would you open up? Are there things you'd like your owner to know? Like I have this whole conversation, like as if I'm talking to you, or anybody that hired me to work. It's a communication, just like when I do my communication with a person, I sit in the power. It's called, British call it sitting in the power. And it's all about love. It's all about sitting in the power of love because that's the highest vibration. I mean,
Right.
that is the most high vibration. So if you can have a love of the client and love for this pet and bring yourself up, you go up high enough to get great messages.
Mm.
And you meet high enough to get the messages you really want for the person that's sitting.
Is it possible to be too connected to that love energy? Will it muddy the water sometimes? You're not getting any messages across, or is it 100% every time?
For me, it's 100%. The more I love what I do and the state of grace that I'm in and the love of sitting and helping somebody, the higher I go. There's like no limits when you connect with love.
Yeah, I don't think there could ever be too much love. Once you really are in there and you feel it, it's like your skin kind of tingles on the edge and your body feels so full and you just want to shoot it out in every direction. I love that feeling.
Absolutely. And it's all about loving yourself first. You have to give it to yourself. It's like giving from the overflow, not your reservoir. Because if you're having a bad day, you're going to be, it's real. It's really about
It sounds just like me in
sitting.
the mornings.
Is there one kind of overriding message? Like, is there something that pets usually always want to say to their, I guess, owners? And this now it sounds weird, a pet and an owner, if we're talking about this love connection. So is there like a general message the pets want to give to their humans that you see repeated time and time again?
Like usually if people have to put the animal down, there's so much guilt with people because they never know when it's time. But I think the overall message there would be people generally know. And we beat ourselves up because euthanizing a pet is the bravest act a person can do. And taking a pet out of pain and misery it's not the life they would want to live, you know?
Right.
I
No,
think that's a big message that it's not your fault. You did a great job. Thanks for helping me cross over. Thanks for getting me out of that arthritic, painful body. It's usually that what comes through the highest and the biggest message is no guilt. It's like wasted
right.
emotion. No guilt, just love.
Well, that's interesting. Not a lot of people know this about me, and Karen's going to laugh, but I think you know this about me, Karen. There was a point in time when I was working in quotation marks at a pet shelter, and my job was to hold the pet while they were being injected to be euthanized. And to a T, almost every single one of them, you can almost feel the fear or the anxiety that this animal had, especially as they were looking at this thing coming at them. Obviously, my job was to actually make them not look. But if they don't belong to anyone, if they're not connected to a family, would that message still be the same? Or is that more of a regretful message? Because I still regret having to ever have done that because I can't imagine that being a pleasant experience for them.
Yeah, but I imagine that was pretty brave act for you to have a job like that and
Oh, I
continue to
hated
do
it.
it.
I lasted a very short amount of time. I hated every time I had to go in there. I was
Mm.
unhappy. I am now learning things about me, so I think I was feeling this from these animals.
Yeah.
I dreaded having to go into that room. It's that one particular room that you always go to. You knew you're going in that room. You're not coming out of it. If you're an animal, I didn't last. It wasn't bravery. It was. "Oh, I got to do this because I want to work at this place."
Well, the saddest thing for me is to have animals in shelters. And sometimes, regrettably, they end up there because they're lost, they're missing, and the owners can't find them. That's the worst. But you're bringing up a sore topic for me because
Okay, I was gonna say
pre-COVID,
sorry about that,
no,
but
no, pre-COVID, the shelters, you couldn't even get a dog because everybody went to the shelter to get a dog. And then when the world started to open up, the shelters are full and like gorgeous animals are being euthanized at a rate not to be believed. So for me, it's like, I try not to judge. I'm not God. I'm not in a position to judge. The people don't realize that soul connection with their pet is the most important connection for their soul. So it's not just like, let me let go of the pet. The dog feels bad or the cat feels bad because it didn't finish the lifetime it was supposed to have with that person to help that person. See, we don't realize how much an animal can help us elevate to the next level. And that's why these animals are ending up in shelters because people are like, I have no money. I'm going to move to an apartment. Like, I've taken courses at shelters to keep people with their dogs in their apartment so their landlord can never let them move. Unless their dog is like biting every child on the floor, there are ways to keep your animal. There are ways to ask for help, for dog food, for animal help, so you don't have to give up your pet. So that's, I think, it's not that I judge the person, it's that I feel bad for the animal. It doesn't get to do its mission with that particular person.
Mm.
And I have a family member that's given up every pet, and I don't judge him because he's an incredible human. But I'm like, I had a cat. I keep my cats to old age because I know that they're supposed to get me to that. Their job is not finished in my lifetime and they want to be there. I know it sounds very esoteric and kind of out there, but it's what I've learned through the work that I do.
Yeah, no, we're all about the woos. Don't apologize for that.
I think
The thing is, we've got a little brand new familiar in our family, a little dog who is just about a year old, and I'm not sure he's here to help me ascend. It feels like he's here to drive me freaking nuts.
it
He's
just
doing
feels like that.
everything.
Yeah, and then when he's about 3 and 4, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is the most amazing dog. It's amazing.
No.
I just thought, oh my God, it was a terror. Rosie was a terror when she was little. She was out of control and crazy. I could barely hold on to her. She'd want to go after everything. And she's the dog that completely changed the course of my life, you know?
So let me get this straight. I have to wait 3 or 4 more years.
2 or 3.
Oh, 2 or 3.
Maybe not as many, but it takes a while for them to grow up and settle in. And
No, and
congratulations.
in all honesty, he is an amazing dog. We are incredibly lucky to have him. He's just a puppy
Yeah.
that's chewing everything. And every once in a while, he chews that favorite piece of furniture that you really didn't want him
Software.
to.
Passport.
Passports. Yes, exactly.
Oh,
We have a game that we play, What's in Hunter's Mouth?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a big handful, but he's a big baby. We love
He's
him.
a lover.
Yeah.
Little lover.
We love him. He's a little entitled,
congratulations.
but thank you. Yeah. Piggybacking on Karen's question about what's the most communicated message from animals, what is the one thing that most humans want to know about their pet?
I always get, and here's a really crazy, funny one. They'll usually say, does he know how much I love him? It's even for dead people. Well,
Mm,
they're like living with us, whether they're dead or they're alive, right? I shouldn't say that. Your animal, if your animal's alive or dead, they're always around you. They can feel your energy. So when you love them, they know. So it's not a question. It kind of is a question. Does he know how much I love him? Did he know that I didn't want to put him down? That's what kind of the main one, the animal or the people will ask me, is he ready to go? And I would want people to trust themselves to know,
mm,
when an animal is ready to cross over, because you're the one with the better connection than even the communicator. But because there's so much love there and it's so subjective rather than objective, people will call me to help them through the transition or like months before the animal's ready to cross over and just call me like every couple months and getting closer to the end for like a security blanket. And
Mm.
I'm happy to help because it's hard to finally make the decision to do that, you know?
right.
So, do you do more communication with animals that have passed or animals that are alive? Like, for example, someone has a dog that's chewing up everything and you want to tell them not to. Is that something you can help them with?
Please.
It's a little bit more difficult to do behavioral stuff for me.
Mm,
Like, cause I'm
darn
not a
it.
trainer. And people will say to me, I hope like you wouldn't go to Africa and walk up to a wild elephant. No, I wouldn't do that. Cause I'm a
Ooh,
communicator and not a trainer, right?
right. Not a
Mhm.
crazy person either. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I would just like what I do is I would telepathically visualize the animal chewing up everything and then watching him sit across the room quiet, like chewing a bone. So I give them like a visual of what they should and shouldn't do, if
Mm,
that makes sense. But
yeah.
it's harder
And
with
what
the
if,
behavior, I would say communication. Communication is usually what they want to eat, where they like to go, what dead people they see sitting in your living room that have passed,
ooh,
like your mom,
Mm,
perhaps. So that's kind of cool and evidential. They'll show me animals in spirit that have passed before them, or animals in spirit will come in, or they'll tell me where the pain is, or they'll show me like where the tumor is in their belly, or that they can't breathe or can't eat, or they're having stomach problems. It's more like that. It's much easier than behavior because to change a
mm,
behavior is harder. But I could figure out like if a cat is doing something naughty, it's usually because like it has a urinary tract infection that I've been able to give evidence of. Get your cat to the vet.
okay.
I've been accurate with that because people say she's peeing outside the litter box.
Mm.
So it's a little bit easier when you connect that way on
Okay.
communication rather than behavior.
Okay. And I guess I was asking also because our dog was a rescue
Hmm.
and we got him and he would not, well, when I first brought him home, he would not walk through doorways. Like
Yeah.
he would sit in the archway between the living room and the kitchen and just sit there. And I would bring him through and he would be fine. Also, he hated the wood floors. It was like the floor is lava. He would sit on the area rug and just go from thing to thing and stay off the floors. Now he's fine, but I'm wondering if something had happened in his past.
Yeah.
Would that be a situation where you would be able to communicate to a dog
Yeah.
or an animal that's had a rough experience in the past to help understand behaviors that they have?
Well, I'll just tell you, when I first started this, my name was going around like North Michigan, and I didn't even understand that there was a big community in North Michigan of hunters that would get these labs, and after 2 or 3 years old, they'd bring them to the pound, like 3-year-old labs, and people would
mm,
adopt them. So I'm reading this,
mm,
this man and woman hire me, and I'm reading this dog, and this dog is showing me like this man beating him up, and And I was in a trance kind of state and I'm communicating this. This is like 10 or 15 years ago. And I'm like hesitant to tell the people. And then I'm realizing, wait, they paid me. Why would they be beating their dog up if they paid me for a reading? I had to like
Mm.
make sense. And the dog was just showing me what his owner had done to him prior to the. And then the people said, we just got him and he's
Wow.
petrified of my husband. We just
Mhm.
got him. And then I'd be like, oh, so as I started to really do this work, I started to really understand. And a lot of times rescues, like they rescue us really, they don't usually want to talk about their past, but they'll show me in
Mm.
like a movie. They don't really want to get into it because they're happy they have moved on. But I feel like your dog's happy, and the fact that he's chewing everything inside is a really good sign. But you want to stick a bone in his mouth and go, "No, here, take this."
Now, is it possible that animals are communicating with us in different ways? You hear them speaking to you in your own words, that kind of thing. But is it possible? Like I've been told, I'm claircognizant. So, and sometimes I swear, Hunter looks at me and I feel, oh, you got to go outside just by looking at me, or oh, you need water. Like I'll just know. Could
Yeah.
that possibly be Hunter communicating with me, asking me for stuff?
Well, I also think it's a guy thing, but not to take it away that you're not claircognizant. My husband does the same thing. This dog needs water. This dog needs a walk. This dog needs to poop. Like our dog. Same thing. My husband is like, and I'm not even clued into my own animals, like my own.
Mm,
And my husband's like, it's just like, I know dogs. You know dogs. You know dogs. And it's a trust thing too. And you're connected to
gotcha.
that dog. You were very connected. And it's probably
So,
great that you have him.
so you popped my bubbles. What you're saying? It's
No,
has nothing to
I
do with
think
my
we're
Bah,
skills.
bah,
no, I
bah.
think I think we all have abilities. It's just really meditating and honing it and spending the time and spirit. Like if you spend time in spirit and you did more of this, you probably would be off the charts, you know?
Hmm.
But it's where you're going to put your time and energy, like what you love, like what do you love? That's what's going to grow.
Now, I also visited your website and I saw that you have some blogs. And not long ago, you put up a blog about the healing powers of nature. So maybe it's not just spending time with the dog, but nature overall. Would you say that the more you're connected with nature, the more you're connected with all nature, including animals?
I think the more time that you spend in nature or the more time you spend with the quiet mind or in meditation, the more intuitive messages you'll get. I really do believe that. Quieting and meditation is key. If somebody wants to mentor with me, my interview process is, can you commit to 20 minutes every morning of meditation? I'll send you the meditation. It's not a guided meditation. It's your own voice in your head going, I am love, I am light. And if they can't commit to a meditation, I can't shift you into doing what you want to do.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It just
It
makes it
does.
easier, because it's easier on me and it's easier on the person trying to learn mediumship or trying to learn spirit connection.
I have one more question about your mediumship. So we were talking about how you can be very, very detail oriented, and you blew me away with that nostril story with the horse. I'm still thinking about that. But besides that example, can you give us just one other example where you just really got those details and
Yeah, I
hit the nail on
couldn't
the head?
believe it. I just couldn't believe it. Like, I don't know until afterwards, usually. During, yes, but I read for this retired couple in Arizona and they heard me on George Nori, which was a hoot. Like, this is
Mm,
nothing because I had to wake up I had to be on George Nori at midnight and do
mm.
animal reading from 1 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Wow.
You're speaking, of course, of Coast to Coast.
Yes, it
George
was
Norrie
great. He's
took over. Yeah.
lovable and adorable.
Yeah.
And it was my first time at a show. But man, oh man, I was like, I can't do this. And sure enough, spirit was really there and on point from 1 to 2 a.m. I was blown
Wow.
away by that. But somebody found me on George Nori and they hired me. And it was a second marriage for both of them. And the lady had children and the man never had kids. So they had these little dogs. And I knew right away what dog it was. Is that a Skipperkey? And they were like, yeah, they're Skipperkeys. Like, I love breeds and I wish I could live long enough to experience every breed of dog on the planet. That would be like the best thing that ever happened to me. If I could just experience every breed because they're all so unique and amazing. And he goes, yeah, it's Skipperkey. And it was like a child to him. It was like they had two. And the one that they lost, I forgot his name. And usually the names of the dogs, I never forget. The people, I always forget. But the dogs, I never forget. Something like Mickey B or something. And I said, your dog said that he's with his mom. And it's just like something that came out of my mouth. And he said, that's impossible, that the mom's still alive. And he got off the phone with me and he called the breeder. The dog had died an hour before the reading. The dog's mom, the dog was already in heaven. The dog's mom died an hour before the reading.
Wow.
And I was like, I just trust what I get. Like, I don't edit. I just trust what I hear and I get.
Wow.
That was the most
That
amazing
doesn't convince
thing.
you.
To me, that was
That's
amazing.
it's incredible.
It is incredible. I know that you do readings for folks. You also do these classes. What's the best way for someone to reach out to you if they'd like to connect with you?
There's contact me on my website as well, but they can book on my website as well.
All right. Well, your website is susanallenmedium.com. Perfect. Well, we're going to add direct links to your website, to your social media accounts, all that kind of stuff in our show notes. So all you need to do is go to skepticmetaphysician.com, go to her episode page, and you'll see the links laid in there directly. So it's super easy for you to connect with her. Susan, it's been an absolute pleasure. One last question before we go.
Yeah.
Is there any type of animal that you don't seem to be able to connect with?
Honestly, no. I connected with a frog, a fish. I connected with a wild gopher. I mean, this woman, all her planting was being eaten by the gophers. So they called me and she owned an organic farm. And I said, well, the gopher just said it's not the gopher, it's the deer. And she goes, damn it, I saw deer prints. So
yeah, it's not me. It was me. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't.
So the woman was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So fabulous. And I'm so grateful that I found them like much later in life than I wish was the plan, but I would have had Spirit uses like all the things that I've done in my life, all the careers that I've had to help use my brain as a filing cabinet to help people that have work or relationship issues or animal issues. So I feel like nothing was a waste of time. That's the other thing. We're all here by the grace of God. And we're all here. We all live through a pandemic that are still here. And everything that we do in life is just, it layers. It's a layering effect upon your soul that will help you in the next thing that you're supposed to do. So nothing is a waste of time. Nothing.
No, absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. No doubt about it. No doubt. Well, Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, you guys were adorable. I'm so glad. And it just was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for saying we're adorable. That's the best we've heard in a long time. We've heard all kinds of things. Adorable. No, thank you so much.
Yes,
we look forward to staying in contact with you. And if you're interested in contacting Susan, go to our website and her episode, and you'll see all her links directly there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
And a huge thank you to you. We know that there are tons of options out there, and having you decide to come along on our journey of discovery with us is an absolute honor for us. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. We'd love for you to contribute by sending us a voicemail or an email from our website, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting platform that supports them. Karen and I love hearing from those that are moved to message us. It truly does fuel our passion. You are the reason we do this show, and knowing what you like and don't like help us craft the very best show we can so that we can help raise the vibration of the planet together. That's all for now, but we'll see you on the next episode of The Skeptic Metaphysician. Until then, take care.